Hello friends, welcome to Kion Lab. Today we are going to discuss relational database in database management system. So basically a relational database is based on the relational model and uses a collection of tables to represent both the relationship amongst those data. It also includes DML and DDL statement, which we have discussed in the database languages. So relational database, as we said, it directly comes in the mind. One is it is based on relational model. Now database models we have already discussed. So relational model, object oriented model, semi-structure model, the data models what we have discussed. Second thing, collection of tables. And third one, as it is a collection of table and table we are going to write, so we have to discuss the schema and manipulating the information of the table. So it consists of DDL statement and DML statement. So tables, what the tables are? Tables is nothing but the information which is stored into the tabular format. So this is my table and I have student ID and name. So student ID, roll number 1, name is A, Aryan, so on and so forth. So what is this is called as the column or attribute. So these two attributes are there. Each attribute has its domain which we have discussed, that is what are the value it is going to accept, whether it could be integer, character, date, time, alphanumeric. So depending on the type of the domain, so the whole column is going to accept the same thing, same value. This is called as the row, or we called it as a record. So collection of records, student and admin section. So this is one more table, and in this section, or account department, in the account department we can have employee ID, and student ID, and we can have here the fees paid or not. So these two table, collection of tables, and these two tables we are going to relate with each other, or whatever the entities. This table here is the stud, we called it as a stud, name of the table or name of the entity is called as a stud, and here this is called as the account. These two entities are identified by all these attributes or parameters. So we are trying to develop a relationship between these two tables, or whatever the entities are there in the system. So in the upcoming videos we are going to discuss it in the detail in the design process. So here we are trying to relate these two tables. Now to relate these two tables, something should be referred. So student ID is referred to this ID of the table student. From the student, this ID from student table is going to refer to the student ID of the account table. So in the account table we need not enter all the respective information of the student. So only we have a student, so from that ID we can get the whole detail from the student table, his name, roll number, ID, date of birth, whatever the parameters are there. And here account department is only interested whether the fees is paid or not. So depending on this ID it will come to know the details, and whole information we can get it from this table student. So here this is a simple relational table example. You can find out here two tables. Table 1 is the instructor table and table 2 is the department table. Now instructor table is identified by these 4 attributes, that is ID, name, department name and salary. So all these attributes, they have their different domains, domain specific, and all these ID, these many instructors are there. So each row is defined as this is a instructor 1, his respective name and whole details. Here similarly in the department table we can have computer science, tailor and budget. So it is department is identified by all these parameters, or it is called as the attributes. Now first we'll see in the relational database, it is been identified by these two languages, that is data manipulation language and data definition language. So first we'll see data manipulation language. Now again, data manipulation language is categorized into two types, procedural and non-procedural, that we have already discussed in the database languages. So non-procedural, here we are not mentioning the procedure, like what is the procedure. Procedure is nothing but a function. So if you are having little bit knowledge of programming, so to get the Fibonacci series, you are writing a procedure or a function. So similarly here, along with the database language, you are writing the procedure, and then you are getting that procedural definition. But here non-procedural, I don't require any procedure, I'm just retrieving the information from the table, that is the name as an instructor. Now here what I would like to retrieve, here this is called as the query. This information I would like to retrieve or fetch from the table, that is find the names of all instructor in the history department. Now here the lots of information is already stored. History department, we can find out here the two instructor, that is LSET and Calipari. These two instructors belongs to the department history. Now how can we write the query, SQL query for this requirement? Now to write this query, first of all we should mention the attribute names. Now we are interested in names of all instructor in the history department. So we take here the attribute name, that is the name. Now this attribute belongs to which table? The name instructor. So it is always a best practice, you are mention the attribute name along with the table name. So instructor dot name. So here I am getting in the output the result of this query is what? This name. Only one, here I am getting only one attribute, because I am interested only those instructors which belongs to history department. So here select the attribute. The query goes like this: select attribute name from table name. From which table? The table name is instructor. Now since we are fetching the data from a single table, that's what I have mentioned here. If there are multiple tables, using the comma you can write those many number of tables. So select attribute name from table name, and here where, these are the keywords we are supposed to write, where, and here I am going to mention the clause. What is my clause? In the history department. So department history, it has been identified by this attribute name, that is department name. So I said here instructor dot department name is equal to this is allowed in the single code as history is the character or a string. So in the single code we are supposed to mention, and this semicolon is the end of this query. So select attribute name, here select attribute name from table name, and where, here the condition I am going to mention, and the result of this query. So whatever the attribute you have selected here, instructor dot name, so only one attribute we have selected over here, so resultant is name, and here output, since only two instructors belongs to the department history, so here I will get LSED and Calipari. So this is the output of my resultant query. So data manipulation language, manipulating the data. Manipulation does insertion of information, inserting the information into table, retrieving it from the table, deleting it from the table, and modifying it between the table. So this is the query fired on the single table. Now one more query we have where it will check the information from more than one table. So what is this query? Find the instructor ID. Now instructor ID I will get it from the instructor table. Find the instructor ID and department name of all instructors associated with the department with budget of greater than 95. So first of all I should find out all the department name or all the departments whose budget is more than 95. So I have 1 and 2. So these two departments belongs to this, and then I'm supposed to get its respective department name, computer science and finance. So computer science and finance, these departments we are going to search into this instructor table. Computer science 1, computer science 1, computer science 1. So 3 instructor belongs to computer science department, and another department which I have found which is having budget more than 95,000, that is a finance. So in the finance we have, this is 1 and this is 2. So all together I will get 3 employees from, or 3 instructor from computer department and 2 instructor from finance department. So my output resultant will get this instructor name 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. 5 instructors belongs to the finance department and computer science department, the respective departments whose budget is more than more than $95,000. Now how do we write this query? Now we are interested in instructor ID and department name. Now here I'm not going to write its table name, but make sure that you will have this practice. Now here you have under table name dot instructor dot ID comma department dot department name. And these two attributes belongs to their respective table. ID belongs to instructor table and department name belongs to department table. Now what is my clause? I have to find out the department name belongs to both the tables instructor and department, and budget which is present in the department table, that should be greater than $95,000. So I will match here instructor dot department name is equal to department dot department name. So that's what I will get all the departments matching. Now I'm using here logical AND operator because I want both the conditions to be true. Department dot budget greater than 95,000 and end of the query. So resultant of this answer, I will get the 2 columns because I have mentioned here ID and department name. So whatever you have written that name, variable name or user defined name while deriving its schema, that name displayed over here, ID and department name. And I will get those 4 names here: finance, WU finance, CATS computer science, Srinivasan Computer Science, Brandt from Computer Science, and Singh from Finance Department. So 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I will get it from here. 5 records I will get it from here. So this is a data manipulation language, and how do we write the query in this format. Next thing is data definition language. Now I am defining this SQL query for this data definition language, that is for department table. So for this department table I am going to write my SQL DDL statement. So I would write something like this: create table. Here the table name, whatever you would like to give. This is a user defined name. So I will write here department and round brackets. So what are the attributes? Department name, building, and budget. So department name, department name, and its domain I mention here character, maximum size 20, comma. Then second parameter, building, is again I will check it as a character, building name 15 characters, and budget. Here I will check numeric value, where I can accept 12 numbers and 2 decimal points, and I'm closing this and semicolon. So in this fashion I am going to write SQL DDL statements for the table department. So we can summarize our today's session something like this: relational databases, whenever it has been asked, first of all it based on relational model. It is a collection of table and it includes DDL statement and DML statement. So this is the summary of today's session, that is relational database. So thank you, and keep watching my upcoming videos on Kion Lab.